Well, on Friday, here in Australia and around the globe into the US, we saw a poor finish to the trading week with pressure on shares around the globe. But that might have masked the fact that it was actually a very strong week for shares. In fact, here in Australia, it's the best week's performance since May. And those 2% plus gains for most major global markets point to ongoing exuberance and an uptrend in global share markets that's feeding into the local performance as well. So it's been another good week for investors despite that soggy finish to the week, and we've got another strong week coming up with a packed market agenda. Now, the most important aspect to this trading week is likely to be the individual reports. The US reporting season is in full swing, and we'll see a number of major reports there, but we're also getting underway here in Australia with some key reports due this week, including AMP, Woodside, Fortescue and Whitehaven Coal. All of them will unveil earnings to shareholders, and we could see significant share price reactions if the story changes for any one of those companies. But the focus is likely to be on the US. We do have a lot of Fed speakers this week, including the Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell. He'll speak on Wednesday, but a number of other board members are speaking. So there could be some fleshing out of Fed policy and some changes to market expectations for interest rates over the course of the year. So something to watch out for. We also have some data this week, New Zealand inflation data today, and then over the course of the week we'll see PMIs from Australia and the US. All of this data speaking directly to Reserve Bank mandates and the broader health or otherwise of the economy. So something to also potentially move markets. But the focus once again likely to be on earnings, and we saw that last week in the US, and it wasn't just those major banks and finance companies, the Goldman Sachs and JP Morgans of this world. We also heard from Johnson & Johnson, the major retailer, and we heard from GE, the major industrial player. And so those companies are starting to paint a fairly strong picture of the US economy. Despite all the tariff-induced ructions in the US, it does look like company bottom lines are largely unaffected at this stage. That's what we've seen in the reporting season so far. We might see a different picture as other major companies report this week. But there was also a focus on individual stocks last week after Circle's CEO appeared at the White House for the signing of the Genius Bill, which enables cryptocurrencies and provides some protections. Its shares took off. At the end of the week, Circle shares were up 19% in light of that new regulatory environment for cryptocurrencies in the US. And car manufacturer Lucid Motor Group soared 33% after announcing a deal with Uber to supply 20,000 robo-taxis. So both of those stocks in the news, both of those stocks making very large share market turns on the back of the news flow. So we'll be looking forward again this week. We'll hear from Coke, we'll hear from GM, Intel, American Airlines, amongst many others. This will probably be the busiest week of the US earnings reporting season this quarter. But two that our customers are very likely to focus on are Google. Google shares are on the way, as you can see from this chart here. They're already in an uptrend in the lead up to this result. And that's interesting, given the concerns that many investors have around the potential impact of artificial intelligence on Google's core search business. Of course, Google owned by Alphabet, the holding company, but that threat to the core business is a particular concern. And the uptrend we're seeing in the shares in the lead up to this report is curious in light of those fears. So it does appear many investors at this stage shrugging that off. In the report later this week, we might see good reasons to reconsider that stance. Moving on, we also have Tesla reporting this week. And of course, Tesla, one of the most popularly traded stocks by Australian investors in the US. And of course, we're well aware of the impact that a number of factors are having on the Tesla share price. Competition from BYD, now the world's largest manufacturer of electric vehicles, is one factor. Mr. Elon Musk's involvement in the new government in the US, and in particular, he's heading up the Department of Government Efficiency, and the unpopularity that brought could put pressure on sales at Tesla. And this quarterly result will be the first time we get a chance to see what the direct impact of those actions were. So a very important report on Thursday night our time is the Tesla report. Following just after that session on Friday morning our time, we'll hear from BYD. So a good week to be catching up on the latest news from electric vehicle manufacturers.